80% of adults in the UK now have a smartphone, so most of us are familiar with the software updates which are supposed to improve the performance and security of your phone.
However, in a test of 7 popular mobiles and tablets, the consumer group Which found some updates actually cut your battery life and reduce the storage on your phone. In one case, a family photo album's worth. Here's a bit to explain this with Dan Sodergren, who is a digital technology expert.
Morning.
Good morning to you, Dan. So they're meant to help. They're meant to make your life, when you use your phone, a little bit easier. But why isn't that happening every time?
Well, the thing is, software is pretty complex. So I think what we're asking our phones to do is also extremely complex. You've got to remember, our phones are now almost as clever as the thing that got us to the moon and back, back in the day. So software is really, really complex. So these updates, they actually do help. They're dealing with security and hacking problems that are more and more prevalent. The problem is, of course, as you put all this more information on your phone, other things therefore get taken out. And I think this is the real big problem. But software is really, really complex. So you've got to really think of this. Almost, you've got to do some things yourself as well. These updates are there to help, but as they do more and more to our phones, we can actually lose a bit of storage and maybe even a bit of battery life. But we've got to remember, in the Which, that little poll or whatever they did, it wasn't a huge number of phones, was it? I think it was more than 50% they actually increased it.
Yes.
I think it was less. So you also got to remember with software, they'll batch test it. So your version of the software that you might get, actually there'll be a different version as well. So they actually test it on us. They have to live test it on. So, 7 phones is not enough for a comprehensive study at all. You'd have to do it with 7,000 or maybe 70,000. So you can't really do it.
And presumably we all use our phones for different things, whether it's data or all sorts of different things. So it very much depends on what you're using your phone for, does it?
Yeah, I think so. And also, as human beings, we take a tremendous number of photos. And you have to remember these things have finite memory spaces. So nowadays, I think it's in 2016, they're predicting that it's 2.5 trillion digital photos will be taken on mobile phones. Put that into real context. That is the same, in fact, it's more than has ever been printed ever in the whole world. Yeah, so that's in 1 year. Yeah.
Wow.
To put it into absolute context, especially with the supermoon around, if you talked about it per day, that's 30 billion per day. That's enough to take you to the moon and back. So if you printed them all out, it'll be to the moon and back. So that's how many pictures are taken on phones. Yeah, exactly. Stunning.
Right, there's a lot of storage space
required. A lot of storage problems, yeah, exactly.
You said as well as the updates, the stuff that we can do ourselves. So, for those watching this morning, might be thinking, OK, what are the simple tools? What would you say?
So there's a couple of things, really, isn't there? There's battery life, and then there's also storage. So storage-wise, well, I think we have to do a bit of digital common sense. Yeah, so start looking through your phone and having a look, and maybe doing some pruning, as I call it. So do a bit of housework yourselves. So look at all the apps, see how big they are. You can do that in your settings, in your general in your settings. Some of the larger apps you might not necessarily need all the time. I'm not saying take off the social media ones, but they are pretty large. Yeah. So if you're not really using them, take them off. Same again with gaming. If you've not really played that game for a while, take it out. Other things you can do, of course, is you could, with your photos, there are a lot of free storage things you could do out there as well. So there's lots of different options. You could even do things like email them to yourself and then put them onto the cloud. So that's another way of doing it. So storage is a few things you can do. Battery life, I imagine you want to talk about battery life as well. Again, same thing. So battery life, you can look at your apps and which ones drain. So social media ones tend to drain it. What else drains it?
Brightness of the screen's quite a big one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So your display, turn off your display and turn that down. Put it into low power mode. The other one is take off the ones that use GPS. So any apps that use GPS, that also drains it as well. And then, the classic is your display and your kind of your power modes. Okay. Also think about your battery and how you use your battery. Don't always charge your phone up fully. That tends to ruin your battery as well.
Well, so many things to think about, and my favourite thing about you is the fact that you've got a notebook. That's how I work. You see, you're a technology expert.
Absolutely.
Look at that, brilliant.
Busted, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could have got my phone, but my phone would go off, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Thank
Always
you
good
so
to have a
much.
hard copy.
I like notebooks. Thank you.
Beautiful handwriting as well. Right.
Unreadable.
Here's Carol with a look at this morning's weather. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning.